So what we'll do, I'm going to just pull some slides. We'll talk about the very big basics, and I'm going to keep it very high level. I might even edit the slides as we go along to make sure that I'm not. I'm a big nerd, so I have no problem being nerdy. And so let me tone that down so that it feels like they're being seen. Let me just change the way I have it set here. I don't think a long story from many years ago. I was a musician and I had an injury that ended my ability to play my bass. And when I was in graduate school, I went to school to become a speech therapist. It ended up using speech recognition software, and that was like 25 years ago. That was a long time ago. And it ended up really changing things. And so I've been interested in this topic. And so what speech recognition software does, it allows you to use your voice to basically to control different parts of either your phone or your computer, or if anyone has those new smart speakers that Alexa's and the Google Homes. And so I'm just going to do a very brief intro. I won't go too far on this. I'll talk about what's available, and a lot of it's available for free. It didn't used to be that way. And then we'll go into exercises. And when we go into exercises, that's when everyone will be able to kind of participate. And you don't have to have a phone or anything like that. We'll just do it all on the platform here. So again, I'm a speech language pathologist or speech therapist. And what I like about this, when I first heard about Amazon in particular making the Alexa, they're making this speaker where you call it. Actually, she's in my room, so I'm going to tell her to stop. You can say the name, and then you can have it tell you the news, or tell you the weather, or you could have it control things in the house. And so I like that, because I'm like, wow, that means you could practice your speech all day long, and you'd have this piece of technology that would be telling you whether or not you were accurate enough. And so that was my initial one. But when you think about Parkinson's in particular, obviously you have the changes in your speech. So that's good for that practice. But also there's changes in the ability to control your hands, and what we call fine motor issues. And that makes it a little twitchy sometimes to get around on a phone. And it also makes it difficult when you're typing or when you're using a mouse. And so with this speech recognition software, instead of pulling up the start screen and finding the program, I can say, open Word, or start Firefox, or start Microsoft Edge, or whatever program I want to use, and it'll come up automatically. And by doing that, you don't have to go hunting and pecking around looking for things. You can actually just call it up by name. And then when you finally get into the program, can I assume that everyone uses email of some type? We were all communicating with our friends and family on email, or maybe you're on Facebook and doing something. Instead of typing, you can actually dictate a message, and that's very convenient. And so that's why I like this. That's why I call it a virtuous circle. I'm a speech therapist, so I like the fact that you're practicing, but I also like the fact that you can control your technology more easily, and you can dictate text instead of typing it. In fact, typing changes are so common in Parkinson's that there's actually a company, it's an MIT spin-out, meaning it was started at research at MIT, and they're actually monitoring typing in people with Parkinson's as a way of understanding how their meds are doing. They're using it as a way of saying to the doctor, hey, meds seem to be wearing off this time of the day, change the medication cycle. So that's how sensitive typing can be on Parkinson's, in Parkinson's. And if you learned how to type like a real person, like I did in college or high school, but if you do it, depending on what side your Parkinson's presents, like if your Parkinson's presents on your left side, then things like the Q will drag, because you learn how to, QWERTY keyboard, you learn how to type, and you use your pinky for the Q. And as your Parkinson's changed over time, you might have actually lost some capacity there until you'll see that the Q gets repeated, or maybe you skipped it. And so it's a change that happens in Parkinson's, I guess is what I'm going to go for. And so the areas that I think are most interesting are controlling your computer, and that's what we'll spend a lot of time today. And then if you do use a smartphone, it's not so valuable for a flip phone or the phone in your house. But if you use an Apple iPhone or a Google,
do you want to be on video?
Something like that, it'll be very convenient to control the phone and also to write text. And then again, if you are someone who uses a newer car, sometimes they have navigation in the car. A lot of times I use my phone connected in the car and I can use that. And then
Yeah.
the smart speakers, when they first came out, does everyone know when I say smart speaker, I'm talking about a Google Home or the Amazon Alexa? I was really excited about this when they came out, but I have to say, having worked in a startup in that environment for the past 5 years or so, I think there's a lot of barriers. I think people are still kind of worried about the privacy of them, and I don't see a lot of people using them. You know, is anybody in the fall today? Is anybody using an Alexa? Yeah. See, I think that there's a good project that's there's someone chatting here. There's a good project that's coming out of there's someone right there. So we do have a user. I have a bunch of them just because, again, I'm a nerd, and our startup for a while was using them. But there are people who are making much more private projects that I think will make that a lot more viable in the future. So if you're not using them, don't get too worried about it. You're not missing out. Okay. I'm going to keep this pretty high level because, again, I don't think this is as valuable. I think we should just do more exercises. But if you are using your computer in a work environment still, if you have been diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's, or you continue to work in the workplace, then I would recommend going with the best product, and it would probably be a disability accommodation for your workplace. I had problems with my hands. It ended up being rheumatoid arthritis, which is now well controlled with medicine, but we didn't diagnose it for about 15 years. And so when I would go, like I worked at Longmont United Hospital, and I used Dragon Professional with the medical version, and I could write my notes after doing the casework with their patients. Or when I worked at a skilled nursing facility, same situation, I could use the software to dictate my notes. And so if you're not working in those environments, this is pretty expensive, and I don't think it's necessary. There are better free options that do, so you won't need that. But again, just if I had somebody who was an attorney or working at a university or doing some kind of work that required them to do a lot of writing, this would be worth doing. And actually, they for many years, they weren't updating their software, and I was getting very frustrated, but they just came out with a new release last year, and it's very good. But it's also like $800. So taking that away and taking it off the table, if you use a Windows PC, if you use Windows 10 or Windows 11, on those platforms, if you have Microsoft Word, either downloaded and running on the computer or through the online cloud version called Microsoft 365, those are their two main ways to get access to their Word documents. Both of those have a free version of speech recognition in them. And so you can actually, you usually see a microphone. That's why I highlighted here that thing I circled, and it'll turn on, and then you can dictate, and it will actually make the text happen on the computer. Now that's really for just doing main dictation. It doesn't allow for what we call command and control, like opening programs. But again, I think for trying it out and seeing if it works, I think it's great to do it for free. Make sure I'm not going too fast here. And then on the Macintosh computers, they do have their own version. For a long time, Mac was really far behind, I thought. But again, all of this has gotten so much better very quickly that I think it's gotten a lot better. And so this is called Voice Control, and it's available on the Mac. They also have a Dragon version for Mac users. But again, if you're not working in a professional environment, I think it's fairly expensive. It's fairly old. I mean, if you think 2015, that is 8-year-old software. So that is not really doing much good. And their new Macs actually have a mobile chip for energy efficiency, and they don't support that. So this would be for somebody who works in a creative environment, because a lot of those people rely on their Macintosh and they have to have it. Actually, a couple of years ago, I was trying to help someone who had Parkinson's, who had to use a Mac, but needed good speech recognition. And what we ended up doing for her is we ended up setting up a Word computer or a Windows computer just to dictate, and then a program that let her drag from that computer onto her Mac so she could use the Mac the way she wanted it. And it seems clunky, but it actually was nice to have a dedicated dictation computer. To do it with all on Mac, it's kludgy. And unfortunately, I think Dragon's fairly expensive these days for what you get. I won't go through all of these, but you'll see me pull one of them. generally speaking, the microphones that come on a computer are not going to be good enough. And then sometimes Dragon will actually come with their own microphone, and it's only decent. It's not great. So if you were really getting into it and you thought it was valuable, I would get an external microphone. And I've given you my recommendations. These are all available. If it's not available on Amazon, then it's available. I told you where. And the reason why I say that is I think it's if you dictate a lot, you'll get a 3 to 5% increase in accuracy, and that's 2 or 3 corrections per paragraph. If a paragraph's 100 words and you have 3 extra mispronounced or misunderstood words, it becomes a real barrier. And again, I still, even though my hands are much better than they ever had been before, I still use Dragon every day. I use it for almost all my emails. I use it for quite a bit of my writing. We do a lot of research, and we do a lot of research writing. I don't use it so much for controlling the computer. And so just to break it down really quickly, and I won't harp on it too much, I'm going to use the one that's right on the far, right in the middle here, this Andrea one. And I just like it because I can wear it around my neck and I don't have to wear it up here and start messing up my hair all day. I start looking a little bit like a cartoon character. My hair all puffed out. My wife loves that. And so I wear it like this. Microphone's here. It gives me a nice signal to noise ratio. And then if you don't like to wear anything at all, you can use a stick microphone. This is an older version of that microphone, and you can have it on your desk. And one thing that's nice about that is it has a push to talk switch, so I can toggle it on and off. So when I'm not using it, I can just press that button and it turns red, and I know that it's not going to pick up my speech, and I can do what I do. And then when it's time to dictate, I press the button again, it turns green. And so just having this extra bit of directionality, having it pointed to my face, or even bringing it up if I need to, just makes a big difference. So I won't go any further with the microphone, but I will say that what you don't want to do is use the microphones that are built in to the computer. Computers have gotten a lot more sophisticated, and they do what is called beam forming, where they have a very small microphone on one side, another one here. Sometimes they have one down by the keyboard, and then they come to this point here and they recognize the audio. But that's not particularly good for speech recognition. It's just not a good enough quality. And then the other thing I don't recommend are those little AirPods, which I love. I rely on them all day long. But if you look at this, if you put us in here, the microphone's here. So I'm talking here, microphone's here, means all this noise that's coming out here, it's not going to get recognized very well. The way they fix that is a lot of physics and basically digital signal processing. And so again, if you were going to go with an actual speech recognition product, I would get something that had an external mic, and I wouldn't use this. Now today, or you get inspired after this, you want to try it, whatever works. Don't get worried about it. But if you're like, well, I'm not accurate enough, getting to a better microphone will get you to better accuracy, and then practicing will give you to better accuracy. As I mentioned before, both the Android and iPhone platforms have this built in. I use an iPhone. For a long time, I was an Android user, and then I got into a startup where the developer was only going to work on iOS, and I bought an iPhone and never went back. But they're both great. They both have benefits for different reasons. But basically, if I say, hey, Siri, send a message to Dad Cell. That's my nickname for my dad's text. So my dad will get a text if I send. I'm not going to send this to him because it'll be kind of weird for him to get a text that says all this stuff. But Siri has I don't know if you can see it. That's my nickname for my dad's cell phone. So you can see that it just did all that while I was talking, and I'm still talking. So unfortunately, I need to turn her off, or my poor dad will get a crazy message from his son. He'll probably think it's a scammer from Russia or something like that. So that's very convenient. Just by saying that phrase, I got it to turn on. I could also dictate into. I could also just dictate into a note. I could dictate a message that everyone should be able to read, period, new line. And by doing that, it makes it easy for me able to say, period. I didn't say be able, and so that's why it put that error in there, period. So it's pretty accurate. And so again, if you use your phone and you find it annoying to try to reply to someone who gives you a text, you could you could learn how to use this exact thing. And all I did, that was not Siri. That was me pressing this little button here that looks like a microphone to see if it's not, it looks like a microphone, and I'll show you a picture of that. And I dictated it. And you could do that in a text, you could do that in an email. And then Android has the same thing. They say, okay, Google, or hey, Google. It's the same process. And then actually Samsung has their own one, but I haven't done much with it, so I'm not going to talk about it very much. Now, the pros and cons of using it on a phone: it is super portable. It is integrated with your calendar, and I'll show us that in a little bit, because there's some nice things you can do with medication reminders and contacts and little notes to yourself. But if you are in an area that has bad cell service, I remember Verizon was very good where I lived, but if I got into the mountains, it seemed like it was not as good, where AT&T seemed to be up there. So if you're in an area that's one of those in between and you don't have good cellular service, it's not going to be that viable sometimes. It's not as robust a platform, so you can't do corrections and stuff like that. And then sometimes you run into annoying things like accidental triggering. In fact, on the iPhone, there's actually a new version. It's in the latest version of the operating system that could let you do command and control of the phone. So I could have it open programs, but it's so sensitive that it basically is too annoying. So I won't talk about how to use it today, because it's like having the microphone on all the time. So if you're walking the dog, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he wants to call dog. And it's like, well, stop. And that's why it's a little bit less robust, but I do like having it on the phone. It's very viable. Again, very few people have these, so I'm not going to get too far into them. If anybody is interested in the technology but worried about privacy, I would point you to a product that's being built in Kansas called Mycroft, like Sherlock Holmes's brother, Mycroft, M-Y-C-R-O-F-T, Joshua Montgomery. Pretty cool stuff. All open source platform, and all in-house, and it's all private. So it's not going to a gigantic board of a tech company. More integration, you have to be a bigger nerd to get it set. One thing I love about this, and again, my initial motivation when I was building our startup over here on these platforms, was that you could do a lot of stuff around the house. You can do all the basic stuff you would imagine, like play a song that you wanted to play, or get the weather, or get the time or the news. But then there were some smart home features like turning lights on and off, or locks. Even you can lock the door, control the thermostat. And again, like lights are a really good one, because if you're at home and you get into bed and you're lying down and then you want to turn the lights off, you just tell your Google Home, hey, turn off the lights, and it'll do it. Or if you want to, turn on or off an appliance. So actually, my parents are back in the States, obviously, and when I go to my dad's house, I've set up a lot of these around the house so that he can turn things on and off. He can actually look at the security cameras. And then we actually have a couple of them in the house. And so there's down in the basement is the office where it's a studio where we do work. And we actually have it set as an intercom. So we can say Google Broadcast and you can say something. And so that's one benefit of this. But again, I do recognize that there are some people who are a little bit not on board for the privacy side of it. One thing I as a term I use here that I do think is valuable, but you can do this as well on a phone, so you don't have to buy one of these to be able to do this. I really like the cognitive prosthetics, and that just means that tools that you can use to remind yourself. It's not just Parkinson's. I mean, anybody as we get older becomes a little more forgetful. And I think we've all become a little bit locked in. We're looking at something on Facebook, and all of a sudden it's 20 minutes later. It's like, what am I doing? Why am I still here? And so by using a cognitive prosthetic, like set a reminder to tell me to get off Facebook in 20 minutes. And like we're 25 minutes in here. I could see like, Alexa, set a reminder to tell me to ask for questions in 20 minutes. Uh-oh, someone else is going to do that. I just turned on someone's Alexa. I'm so sorry. So in 20 minutes, it's going to tell me to tell you to, like, hey, does anyone have any questions, so I don't forget? And so it's running. And so that's the kind of fun stuff I like. If I'm doing something in the kitchen and I, put the pasta in, I know it's 11 minutes, I can tell me to, set a timer for 11 minutes or remind me to take the pasta off in 11 minutes. I can either have it be generic, or it can be very specific. You can tell me exactly what to do, or it could have a timer that goes off. And so I like that. And I think that's something that even if you don't have Alexa or Google Home, you can definitely do it on your phone. And I think that's something, again, I'm 51. I use this daily, and I don't have Parkinson's. And I think Parkinson's it maybe amplifies that, but some of that's just normal aging, and then we're all there. So it's a very valuable usage of it, I think. I think it's a valuable way to use it. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about how to dictate, and then we're going to try to get into the platform a little bit, and I'll come up different ways around here, because again, it might be easier for you to see me do it, and then you turn the mic off and you can just practice even if you don't have a device. But the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to dictate all the punctuation. So I don't care if you're on your phone or if you're on a PC. If you're on a smart speaker, it doesn't need that, but everywhere else that you're trying to make something. So you have commas and periods, and I put ellipsis, but you could also say ... or period if you really wanted to talk a lot. And then if you're going to put something in parentheses, open paren, close paren, open quotes, close quotes, and then spacing. And then this is something I do quite frequently for just making it readable. You can say blah, 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 new line, and it'll dictate all that text, and it'll press enter, and then blah, 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 new line. And that way it doesn't all run together in a big long line. It's hard to read. And then finally, you can have some ways to capitalize things. And if you need a number, like the numeral 2, you can do that. But let's not get in the weeds. Let's get into the first one. Well, we're going to practice something here. And we're going to say every bit of punctuation. We're going to try to add in new line. And if we're not going to worry about the capitalization. So basically, I'm going to do this on my phone. Instead of showing you like this, I actually have an application that will let me pair up to my phone. So I'm going to do that so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. And then we'll practice it a little bit. So let me just turn that off. Yeah, boy, it dictates a lot. The newest version of the iOS, though, the Apple version, the microphone stays on a lot longer, and that's awesome and terrible because sometimes it ends up dictating for hours. So let me just pair myself up here, and I'll share the screen real quick here. And this is an app called Reflector, and it's very powerful, but it can be a little finicky, but I think we got it. Looks like it's going to work. Someone was talking about coming over to visit in Portugal, and I definitely recommend it. It's a lovely country, and it's probably one of the less expensive European vacations. But the one thing that they have the best internet in Europe. They have more fiber optic than anywhere in Europe, and I don't quite understand why that is, but it's pretty nice. So let me stop this share. So let me make a new note. Very important things. Okay, let me make a brand new one. Okay, so now you see how it comes up there. I'm pressing that little microphone.
Where's the microphone button? Oh.
Yeah. It hurts you too. Do you see it? It's down in the corner there. I don't know if I can highlight that or not. It's down.
I see it. I see it.
Right by the space. So I'm going to press it, and I'm going to say it. Look, I'll dictate the first one, and come back. So you go. My name is John Dean. Period. New line. I live in Lisbon, Portugal. Paragraph. New paragraph. So if you don't say it, it won't do it. So you have to make sure that you're careful. Period. New paragraph. It's dictating all this pretty well, right? Question mark. And then I press the microphone again, and it stops. Like when it's on, it's kind of grayed out thing. So now it's on, and then I press it again. Oh, darn! I press it again, and it's off. So let's all practice that. I'm going to mute for a second because if you do it, I'll be able to hear you. And we'll just practice a quick script, and I'll have it on the next page. You don't have to memorize it. Don't worry. So that's what we were going to say. And what we're going to do is we're going to dictate it. You're going to use your own name. You're all muted, so don't worry. You're not going to be exposing, and we're not asking about a social security number or anything like that. So you could just dictate it like you would normally do it. And the way you're going to make it look So it's money. You're going to type it like, my name is, whatever your name is, new line. So I'll start with, my name is John Dean, new line. My address is 123 Main Street, comma, Anytown, comma, Colorado, 12345, new line. My phone number is 555-123-4567, new line. My email is john@johnmdean.com. So maybe it's easy enough to see it there. So it did a lot of it. It did something weird with my email. They gave me an extra H in there, which is a little weird, but everything else showed up just about right. And even because this is an iPhone, if I press that button, it will call it, but it's 555, so I don't know who that's calling. And then it would give this, and that's just a little error in there. I probably need to use corrections. So was that too fast? Should we try that again? It was a lot, wasn't it? Again, I'm a nerd, so let's go back. Let's make it real so you guys can use this. And it's not like you're going to be dictating that stuff all the time. You would say that on a phone, so it would not wasted practice. But I'm really trying to show you more the process. The process is I'm using good, clear speech that my speech language pathologist would be very proud of, using punctuation, and then maybe a new line just to make it more readable. But if you're dictating a text, you don't have to do that. Like if you're dictating a text to your friend, I'll be there in a minute, period. Send. Done. You don't have to do crazy stuff. So let's go back. I'm going to pull that slide deck back up there so you can see it. And then we'll practice it. And then also I have more to practice, so don't worry. So again, if you're going to use it on your phone, that's great. If you're just going to practice it, you can do that as well. And so like I said, you say, my name is new line. My address is, so you could just figure out an address, 123 Main Street, Longmont, Colorado, 80305. I'm trying to remember what it was there. New line. And by putting the commas in there, it's easier to read. It will put whatever you're in there. So if you don't put in the commas, it'll still dictate it. And then my phone number, this is the best part. As long as you have 10 digits, it'll go ahead and format it properly. 303-444-1234. And then with your emails, if you can say at, you can say @ john@johnmdean.com. That is actually my email if anyone has any questions. If you are unfortunate or have a name, if your heritage makes your name not that pronounceable, or Americans usually mess it up, probably the software is going to mess it up. There's a way to train it, but it's just, this is actually a problem with all technology, all AI, all stuff like this, is that it still has a lot of bias, and it's something that they need to continue to work to get better at. But for now, it's not that good because mostly programmed by guys that look like me, and that's a drag. And I'm apologizing for it. But if you don't have the name that's going to roll right off like John Dean, not the guy from Watergate, maybe it's tougher. But a lot of people I'm looking here, several of you are going to be fine. I can't see everyone on there, but I don't see anybody who's going to have trouble. I have a friend who's a physician from the Czech Republic. It would destroy her name. Her name would be terrible. So it'd be terrible for her. Okay, so I'm going to skip this part here, guys. Let's go to another one. And if anyone has any questions, maybe now's the time to ask them. Okay, I'm going to go to different topics. Yeah. Okay, good. So now I've hit my notes. Yeah. And then I'm going down to the lower corner down there. You see where it says 4,537 notes. And then I'm going down to the lower corner down there. You see where it says hit that down to 537 notes. And now it's brand new. You hit that down the bottom. This should be for everybody. You got a new note now. You see it?
Yes.
Okay. This should be. So that's when everybody. You got a new note now. My name is John Dean. Okay. So that's when I would dictate. My name is John Dean, 4700 New Line, Lakewood Drive. I live at Longmont, Colorado, 80301 Lakewood Drive. New paragraph, comma, Longmont, comma, Colorado number is 301. New 303, 333. My number is 78. 303, new paragraph. 333. And my email is 8. And my email is john@johnmdean.com. And my email is so john@johnmdean.com. I have 2 H's in John M. Dean. For whatever reason, it's decided that, and it didn't like H's, that's why I made inches, because I have to figure what that's just what it is. And so again, H's, that's two things that are to take away from that, guys. That's just what. When I start getting very colloquial, so again, or if my two things that are to take away from that, guys. And I start when I start getting very colloquial, then it'll show up, and I start talking like I used to. Not then it'll. But if I focus, definitely what you see. And if I focus on speaking like a newscaster, but if I focus and using clear speech, if I focus on speaking like a newscaster, comma, and using clear, it will always come out with good breath support. Almost always, at least, comma. It will always come out. Almost always, at least, so that he will. There, it fixed it later on. This is one of those things where, so that he will, my phone there, is actually sending it to the cloud. This is one of those things where, coming because back, sometimes it will be actually sending it to the cloud to get processed and coming back. Rendering, sometimes it'll come back recognized quickly. And then that won't be a problem rendering on computer. It'll come back drag or something like that. But it is one of the weaknesses of the phone. Period. Computer using dragging or something like that. But it is one of the weaknesses of the phone. Period. New paragraph. I'll stop submitting everyone to this. I'm quite amazed how accurate this is. So let's so if you saw me do this already, if I wanted to send a text to someone that's in my contact list, and again, I don't like to I don't use this that often. I use it with really safe ones like my mom, my dad, my sister, my wife, something like that. If it's in your list already, you can just say, hey Siri, hey Google, whichever one it is. Oh, she turned on. Never mind.
Mine did too.
I'm sorry. I'll stop saying. I'll say hey S word or hey
G word.
Okay. Did you everyone hear that? Like Alexa came up to me and said, hey, this is your reminder. Make sure we're asking for questions. So I didn't just talk all the time. And someone else is doing it too. That I turned there. Thank you, Alexa. You can stop. Thank you. That's a nice prosthetic because I mean I was just talking and we got into it and all of a sudden it's there. So if you were going to dictate a text, guys, you would just say, hey S word, hey G word, whatever turns on your phone and doesn't make me do it for you, and then send a text to, and it will automatically pull them up there and it'll say, what would you like to say? And it'll prompt us by voice, audio. And you say, hey, I'm having a really good class on speech recognition, period. This is just a test, period. And then
send a text to.
It'll ask you who. If you don't say it all fluently, if you can't keep it all in your head that says send a text to blah, 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 it'll walk you through it. Send a text to who? And you'll say, you know, my wife or my child or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let me demo on mine again, guys, because I think it might be easier. And then I just got to make a note. I'll be going through this entire presentation, and I will cut out anything that has anyone. If anyone accidentally says something personal on here, it's gone. So don't worry about that. I'll make sure that we don't have any nonsense. Not that Russian hackers are listening to this presentation or like that, but just so we don't have an issue. Okay, so I'm going to put mine back on so you can see it, guys, and I'll demonstrate it, and then you can. Hey Siri, send a text to mom cell. Hi mom, comma. I'm demonstrating speech recognition software, period. Send it.
Wow.
She'll put it up with it. She loves me. I'll probably get a text for her while we're on the call. She'll take care of this. So that's what it did. You know, and
wow.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
And isn't it nice how automated it is? You know, I should have put Annie, I'm so sorry. I should have put you in here and I could have sent you a text and you could have demonstrated. if you make sure that you keep your phone list nice and clean, so you know your kids' names, or you can say my son. I had mom's cell, that's her cell phone number. I also have mom home. I have dad home, dad cell, and I know that I have to send it to their cells, my sister. If you do it cleanly like that, it works very well, and it would be just as good on it would be absolutely as good on an Android. So it's the fact that I use an iPhone doesn't matter, guys.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna stop. I'm listening to my Alexa and ask requests. I can show you anything. I got a bunch of different slides. I got more than we need. I can tell you right now because we only have 10 more minutes. Is there a request? Does somebody want, like, how about I show you how to do a calendar entry? Does that sound doable?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Let me pull that up here. Okay. So I'm going to show you on the slides, and then I'll demonstrate on my phone. Okay, got it. Making a phone call. That's another one I should say. I can call. Hey, call Dad. I'll make sure it doesn't do that. I don't want him to call. Calls are super expensive over here. It's like 50 cents a minute. But I can say, hey, call Dad cell. I had to say the S word or the G word, depending on what phone, or call mom or call my sister, and it will do that. And I can also make it be a FaceTime call if I wanted. Okay, so this is this. Okay, I'll do this exact one. Parkathon is I do a hackathon kind of thing with some guys, and so these are people with Parkinson's, and we'll set it there. But I think I might just do this one. Let me see what I have on my slides. Trying to do crazy stuff. Yeah. Okay, I won't do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. This is what I would say. I would say, hey, S word, schedule the Parkathon Salon on Sunday, June 25th, from 5 to 8 p.m. And if I couldn't keep all that in my head, I can say, hey, S word, schedule a new appointment, and then say, what do you want to call the appointment? And I'll say, Parkinson's meeting. When is the event? And I'll say the date, whatever. And so I'll do it the first way. I'll do it the long form. I feel like a nerd when I do that. And then I'll do it the way that you could do it very easily. And again, it's made to prompt you through the way that these having written about 7,000 for our startup, the way these interchanges go, it's like, oh, they gave you 40% of the information. Here's the next step. Okay, now you have 70%. Here's the next step. It fills in the blanks. That's what it's smart at. It's not really intelligent. It's not very smart, really, but it knows what you didn't give it. And it just keeps bothering you until you give all the pieces it needs to complete it. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my phone again. And yep, looks good. Looks good. Okay. Okay. Hey Siri. Schedule a new appointment for Parkathon Salon Sunday, June 25th from 5 to 8 p.m. Okay. That's it. Did it. Let me make sure I'm right about that. Yep. Put it in there. So I could say something like, hey Siri. Schedule a doctor's appointment on Friday at 8 a.m. Oh, okay. Well, just assume I wanted it tomorrow. Okay. Hey Siri. Schedule a doctor's appointment next Wednesday. Oh, it turned it into that. Okay, so that's a problem. That's a problem. You gotta give it a time. I don't want it all day. I love my doctor. I do it all day with my doctor. So okay. So hey Siri. Cancel that appointment. Delete. Yes. Oh, so now I have to press it. Okay. Okay. So I didn't like the word delete. Hey Siri. Schedule a new doctor's appointment Wednesday at 9 a.m. Good. And you could probably say something like, hey Siri. Schedule a new doctor's appointment with Dr. Howe at 11 a.m. 2 weeks from today. It didn't like Dr. Howe. I love Dr. Howe, but it didn't like its name. So you'd have to do some work. But again, for quick and easy scheduling, it's pretty nice. Let me stop that there. Now, one thing that's nice is I'm in a nice, quiet environment, and I'm in a situation where everything's perfect, and I have the best internet. I have literally like 700 megabits per second. If I was a gamer, I would be able to like be on 9 streams. I'm not that kind of nerd. All my nerd stuff is functional. But if you're in a noisy environment, if you're somewhere where there's a lot of stuff going on, the first thing I wouldn't do is put in my headphones, because I told you that even though I think AirPods are really well made and they're perfect, I love them. I rely on them all the time. The microphones are not good enough. If you had them on, I would take them out and put them in their case so they turn off. And the microphone on your iPhone in particular, most phones, is in the bottom. And so you would just take that and put it right up by your mouth so that it's the best signal to noise ratio. And that means that all the digital signal processing is going to turn off. Well, it's not going to turn off, but it's going to eliminate stuff outside there. So there's someone talking over there. You're the loudest thing in the room, and it knows to talk to you, and it'll give you better recognition. And that would be like, again, if you had a bunch of noise on. And that used to be something I used to do when I would train on this, is I would tell people, okay, we're going to do that. My name is, my address is, my phone number is, because you use that sometimes on the phone, and it's a common enough thing to practice. And I would say, okay, now do that and turn the TV on and see, can you still get to 100% accuracy? Okay, now go turn on a talk radio. It's got to be NPR or whatever talk radio you listen to. It's got to be human voices. It can't be a song. It's not going to, the song won't fool it. Turn that up a lot. And then again, at some point it becomes valuable to, instead of doing it like this, like you normally do, all of a sudden move it up here and do all the dictation right into the microphone. And so even if you have a bunch of noise going on around you, you'll be amazed at how accurate it is.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting close. So questions, thoughts? This is this daunting? Is this a lot? Is this too much? I could have done a session on just like 3 things. It looks like I have 48 more slides, which I'll save for another day. People who
John, this is very helpful.
good. Okay, good.
Yeah, really helpful.
I think
Unbelievably good. Fantastic. Thank you
Yay,
so much.
thanks.
good. Okay, great.
Going to shop for an iPhone, what would be the best time to get? What brand of a smartphone is the best for this kind of use?
I mean, I think you should ask everyone here. My personal opinion is that iPhones are made to be super easy to use, and they're better on privacy than some of the other ones, but actually not, they're all kind of more careful than they used to be on that. That's my take. And I started off an Android, but then I worked with a startup making an app for Parkinson's, and he would only develop on iPhone because with one coding language. What do other people think? Do you prefer your iPhone, or do you just speak up? You can unmute and just let her know.
I just have a clamshell right now.
Yeah. You have to have a smartphone of some kind, but yeah, love the iPhone. And this is an iPhone SE. This is an older one. You can buy the brand new, all the bells and whistles, but if you go to the Apple store, they'll sell you refurbished, Apple certified ones that are a year or 2 or 3 older, and they'll be plenty of good. And they'll have all the things you want. And they'll do this phone I bought during pandemic. So this phone's now 3 years old, and it's the cheap version. It's the SE. So if you want to buy the brand new one, that's great, and you can be super fancy, but you don't need it.
Thank you.
One with a bigger screen is the only thing. And my only complaint is I'm either going to need longer arms eventually, or I'm eventually going to have to get rid of it.
That's right.
It's the only thing. So a bigger screen might make you a little happier, and that'd be the only thing I would recommend. Good. Okay. Well, then I won't bother with the other stuff. Maybe another time I'll talk to Annie and see if I can talk her into one on a computer. And the only reason why that'd be interesting is if you're doing, like, if you're sending emails. But again, you could. I won't do it now, but you could definitely do an email here or type that email into your notes. Sometimes when I'm out and about here in Portugal, I don't have very good internet on my phone. I have 2G because I have the T-Mobile from the States, but I'll dictate a bunch of emails in there And then when I get to some place where I can do it, it allows me to work on the subway or something like that so that I can keep productive. So you could do that. You could load a bunch of emails if you had some to send out, and then put them in that way. So, okay, good. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. And also, I would say if you have other questions that I can't answer, Annie's been amazing throughout this entire series. She's always on the spot. So you can ask Annie Goyens. I hope I'm not butchering your name. At PAR 303-830-1839. You can give them a call. You can send her an email. They've been amazing. Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, thanks.
Bye-bye.